Did you know that over 65% of millionaires say they do not feel comfortable with their financial situation? And think about that for a second. People with seven figure net worths, the group most of us would assume are set for life, don't actually feel secure. And you might assume it's just inflation eating away at their wealth, but the real reason might surprise you. And I have sat across the table from plenty of folks with $1 million net worth, and I can tell you some of them feel poor because in practice, they are poor. And having $1 million net worth does not automatically mean you are financially independent. So, let me show you the top three reasons millionaires feel poor, and more importantly, what you can do to avoid falling into the same trap. The first and the most common reason I see is that they are completely and utterly cash poor, and it's an epidemic. You hear all the gurus, all the professionals tell you to max out your Roth IRA, dump everything you can into your 401k, and contribute to your HSA. And look, this is fantastic advice, and you absolutely should be doing that. But here's the problem. For many, it becomes the only thing they do. And they get so focused on building up that retirement number that they completely neglect their liquid assets. It's like building a fortress, but forgetting to stock the pantry. I've seen guys with incredible net worth statements who do not have enough cash on hand to cover 6 to 12 months of their expenses. And that is a recipe for anxiety, and that is not freedom. That's a golden cage. So, what exactly is a liquid asset? It's simple. It's money you can get your hands on quickly and easily without taking a massive penalty or having to sell a major possession. And we're talking about cash, money in a high yield savings account, a money market fund, or even stocks and bonds in a taxable brokerage account that you can sell in a day or two. Your 401k is technically not liquid because it comes with a penalty if you haven't met the age requirement. Your house is definitely not liquid unless you sell or borrow against it, right? Let's run through a real life example I see all the time, and let's just put you in the scenario. Let's say you have done well for yourself and your house, which you bought years ago, is now worth, let's say, $700,000 thanks to all the crazy appreciation. You've got a $200,000 mortgage left on it. So that's a cool $500,000 in home equity. It looks great on paper. Then we look at your retirement savings, another $450,000 in there. So right there, you're at $950,000 in just those two assets. And you're knocking on the door of being a millionaire. But then we look at your cash, you've got $50,000 sitting in the bank, and that's barely 5% of your net worth sitting in cash. Now, if your monthly expenses are very high at $8 or $9,000, that 50 grand is gone in 6 months. What happens if you lose your job? What happens if a major medical emergency pops up? What if your business has a downturn and you're forced to either sell your home in a panic or, even worse, crack open that 401k, pay income tax, and get slammed with a 10% penalty? And all that hard work, and you're trapped. You feel poor because you are poor from a cash flow perspective. Personally, I always aim to have at least 10 to 15% of my total net worth set aside in liquid assets to begin with, and then eventually work my way up to 20 to 25% combined between my cash savings and non retirement investment accounts. And because a liquid asset can be your HYSA or taxable brokerage account, your non retirement brokerage is not tied up like your 401k is. This is the money that lets you sleep at night. And this is what allows you to take risks, to jump on an opportunity, or to weather a storm without having to blow up your entire financial plan. That high yield savings account or money market, that's your emergency buffer, your 6 to 12 months of living expenses, no questions asked money. And the taxable brokerage account, that is your opportunity fund and is still invested, still growing, but it's accessible. You can sell some stocks if you need to buy a car, help a kid with a down payment, or invest in a new venture, and all without touching your sacred retirement nest egg or selling your house. Remember, being a millionaire on paper means nothing if you're just one emergency away from financial ruin. You need liquidity, period. The second major reason millionaires feel poor is that their cost of living has quietly crept up and choke them out. And it is no secret that inflation is a beast and everything costs more than it used to. But I am talking about something more personal than that. And I am talking about a lack of financial discipline. It's lifestyle creep. And Ramsey Solutions did a study and found that 6% of millionaires still carry bad debt, like credit card debt. 6%. It's mind boggling to me. And these are people who have won the game, yet they are still playing by the loser's rules. And remember that your essential expenses, like your mortgage, groceries, utilities, gas, property taxes, and insurance, a lot of that might feel outside of your immediate control. And I get it. But your discretionary spending is 100% on you. And that's where the financial bleeding happens. Just because you're a millionaire in terms of net worth does not mean that you can't afford to pay for private schools for your kids or pay for a cleaner every single month if you don't have the cash flow to support it. And your net worth does not mean anything if you don't have the positive cash flow to support your discretionary spending. And I've seen too many people who end up biting more than they can chew. And controlling your discretionary spending is probably the single most powerful thing you can do to feel wealthy. And it's about being intentional. So many people, especially successful people, fall into the trap of mindless spending, and the income goes up. So the spending goes up right along with it. And they never actually get ahead. And they just inflate their lifestyle. And I see it all the time. And you have worked your tail off, you've provided for your family, and you deserve to enjoy life. But you have to do it responsibly. And having lifestyle creep can manifest as a new $80,000 truck every 3 years, eating out at fancy restaurants 4 nights a week, joining the expensive country club, taking lavish vacations that you've been putting on a credit card for the points. It all adds up. And before you know it, you have a massive outflow of cash every month just to maintain this lifestyle you have built. It's exhausting, and it makes you feel like you're on a treadmill. No matter how much money you have, you're not in control. Your lifestyle is. And this brings me to a critical metric that most people ignore: their debt to asset ratio. It's a simple idea: how much do you owe compared to how much you own? The lower the ratio, the more financially sound you are. And the fastest way to wreck this ratio is by taking on unnecessary debt. And from someone who once had over $110,000 in total consumer debt, the only debt that is acceptable, from my experience, is a mortgage debt. And let's get real here. You have got to stop taking out massive car loans. The average new car payment in the US is over $800 a month. That's insane. You're a millionaire. Pay cash for a reasonable car. If you can't pay cash, you cannot afford it. Simple as that. And it's a depreciating asset that is robbing you of your wealth. It doesn't matter what the interest rate is when it comes to a depreciating asset. And as for credit cards, they are not an extension of your income. It is not an emergency fund. They are a tool. If you're not paying off the balance in full every single month, you're losing. You're paying some bank 25% interest for the privilege of buying stuff you probably don't need. Cut it out. And then there's the big stuff. Stop taking out a home equity line of credit or HELOC against your home to fund your lifestyle. Stop taking out a reverse mortgage to pay for your kids' college tuition. Your home is not a piggy bank. Using it to pay for a vacation or a kitchen remodeling you don't need is just reckless. You are turning a performing asset into a liability. You're putting a big risk on the home that you live in. And I also see a lot of guys bite off more than they can chew with real estate investments. They see a guru on YouTube and suddenly they own 5 rental properties and all leveraged to the hill with mortgage debt. One bad tenant or one major repair and their whole house of cards comes tumbling down, pun intended. I don't care what anyone says, but real estate is not passive income. You have to put a lot of work into creating that cash flow. And I can't tell you how many people I've met in the past who end up losing money to a rental property because they had no idea what they were doing. And a rental property that has no return on investment is not an investment property. It is just a liability. And all of this comes down to just one simple, unsexy, and absolutely essential practice. You need to budget and create a monthly cash flow statement. And I don't care if you make $100,000 a year or $300,000 a year. You need to tell your money where to go, or it's going to disappear. And a budget is you telling your money who is boss. And a budget is giving yourself permission to spend money. It's the ultimate tool for control and peace of mind. The third reason, and this one is more psychological than anything, is the fear of the unknown. And for some people, even with $1 million to their name, it just doesn't feel like it's enough. The goalposts have moved. And back in the day, being a millionaire meant you were set for life. Now, in many parts of the country, $1 million gets you a nice house and maybe a little left over. It does not feel like the permanent safety it once did. And the housing market has gotten so expensive to the point where buying a house now, even for millionaires, seems impossible. And according to a recent survey by Yahoo Finance, 48% of millionaires do not actually consider themselves wealthy. And that's almost half. They describe themselves as either very comfortable, or even just getting by. And it's because the definition of rich has changed. And for many, the new benchmark for feeling truly wealthy is not just $1 million. It's 3 million or 5 million or even 10 million. And there is this constant fear that they will outlive their money and that a market crash will just wipe them out, or that one major health event will drain their accounts. And this fear can be paralyzing, and it prevents them from ever actually enjoying the wealth they have worked so hard to build. They feel poor because they're constantly worried about becoming poor. And this fear is not just in your head, it's actually a well documented psychological trap. You don't have to just take my word for it. A lot of experts agree that feeling wealthy has very little to do with the numbers sitting in your account. Morgan Housel, author of The Psychology of Money, put it best. The hardest financial skill is getting the goalposts to stop moving. This is exactly the problem. As people build wealth, their expectations and lifestyle creep right along with it, which means they never actually feel like they have arrived. And George Kinder, who's often called the father of financial life planning, says the focus should not just be on the numbers, but on fulfillment. He puts it this way: true wealth is not about having the most money. It's about having the money you need to live the life you want. And Ramit Sethi echoes that by saying a rich life isn't about hoarding more, it's about freedom, flexibility, and being able to say yes to the things that actually matter to you. And all three are really pointing to the same truth. Unless you decide what enough looks like for you, no amount of money will ever feel like enough. So, how do you fight something as powerful as fear? You don't fight it with feelings, you fight it with facts. You fight it with a plan. You need to know your numbers so intimately that no market swing or scary headline can shake you. This is where I go through what I call my fire checklist. And no, it's not just for the financial independence retire early crowd. It is for anyone who wants to know for a fact that they are going to be okay. First, calculate your fire number by multiplying your expected annual retirement expenses by 25 to know exactly what you're aiming for. With that target in mind, create a small rainy day fund to cover your insurance deductible so a surprise bill does not derail your progress. And from there, contribute enough to your 401k to get the full employer match because it's an instant guarantee return on your money. With that match secured, aggressively pay off all high interest debt like credit cards and personal loans, as the interest you're paying is higher than any investment return. And once your debts are cleared, build a full emergency fund with 6 months of living expenses to protect you from major life events like a job loss or medical crisis. Now that your financial foundation is secured, max out your HSA and Roth IRA accounts every single year to take full advantage of their powerful tax-free growth and withdrawal benefits. To fuel these accounts, aim to achieve a 25% savings rate by living below your means to significantly shorten your path to financial independence. As your habits solidify, work on maxing out all available retirement accounts like your 401k to put your plan on steroids. And for those on the fast track, push for a 50% savings rate to potentially cut your working career down to just 10 to 15 years. And finally, pay off your mortgage to eliminate your largest monthly expense and achieve the ultimate peace of mind in retirement. At the end of the day, true wealth is not a number on a spreadsheet. It is peace of mind. It's the freedom that comes from having cash to handle a crisis, the power that comes from telling your money where to go, and the unshakable confidence you get from knowing your exact number. Do not chase the title of millionaire. Chase control, chase freedom, build a plan, execute it with discipline, and you will feel wealthier and more secure than any net worth statement could ever make you feel. And this has been another beast of a video, and I hope you got a lot out of it.